Hi,
Howdy, Pat.
gang. Hey,
How's,
how you doing,
how's it-
Aaron?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Yeah, this is me, Patrick from Lavender Country.
This is Aaron
And
Shea to you live
yeah,
from the socialist hellhole of Seattle, as normal.
this is session 5 of our Anti-Fascist concert series. We've got a really good lineup today. Two fabulous poets, and I happen to know that because I know them both and
Hmm.
their work. Um, and some great musicians as well.
Yes,
Um,
indeed.
do you have anything to say about politics this week?
Uh, how so many things to potentially talk about. Of course, we saw the defeat of the minimum wage boost in the COVID bill, which was a disappointment, but hardly surprising, given how waffly the Democrats have been on the subject. Um, just gonna have to keep working at that at the state level, I suppose. Um,
I thought the COVID bill passed a couple of hours ago.
uh,
Oh, it had to go back to the House or something.
Something like that. Yeah, I know that it passed the House, and then the Senate had a stab at it, and the $15 minimum wage amendment did not make it through, from what I can tell.
Uh,
But yeah, it's not surprising. Well, if anything comes out of this goddamn bill, I'll
well,
be pleasantly surprised.
uh, uh, what I see is typical Democrat um, pandering to the Republicans and backpedaling like they've been doing for the last 50 years.
Hmm.
They promise all kinds of things when they're running for election, and then they make major concessions while they're sitting there. Biden killed the minimum wage bill by his very own little self. And he could have chosen not to do that, but he backpedaled. Um,
It feels like it was a group effort with a few more conservative Democrats coming in with the Republicans to nix the amendment, but Biden definitely didn't push very hard for it, which that's about what I expected from him.
he had all this shit worked out behind the scenes, like
Very
usual.
probably.
And
One thing,
some of them pretended to be progressive, and some of them tended to be middle of the roaders, and it was actually all
yeah.
backroom.
One,
The
yeah,
positive
shoot.
thing, if you can call it that, that I've noticed is the fascists. That's who we're talking about in this series. Have grown
Hmm.
kind of quiet. They've grown kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And are not are not standing up and pushing a fascist program at this minute. And
Oh dear. Looks like we might have lost Patrick. Not sure what he was building to, but it does look like the fascist movement has gone a little quiet. They've been facing some repercussions for January 6th. Oh, hey,
yeah, I think they are facing some repercussions from January 6th. I also think they number one didn't have a coherent fascist ideology to present in the first place.
mm-hmm.
They were like coming from all kinds of places, and I think they failed to consolidate the army and the police force into their cause, and those were pretty big errors. The
Yeah,
lack of a concrete fascist ideology, the inability to bring the military to their side, and the fact that they haven't yet captured the police forces of the country. In fact, some of it's going the other way with the Black Lives Matter, George Floyd murder issue and the subsequent legislation involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
The
All of that could turn around real fast if there arises someone who is a true believer of the MAGA cause, who has the charisma that, I don't know if charisma is the right word because I don't see it, but the whatever drew people to Trump's
Trump
movement.
has the charisma. He lacks the ideology.
Yeah, he's a grifter. He doesn't
He
believe in anything.
he doesn't believe in anything, and in particular, he doesn't believe in fascism. He believes in himself.
Yeah,
And
and fascism was the thing that benefited himself at the time.
exactly.
So
I
yeah.
finally would point out that the Democrats have been in the leadership of the right to vote, voter suppression issue
Mm-hmm.
for the last 50 years. And we find ourselves facing a torrent of anti Black voter legislation and
Mm-hmm.
the necessity to pass a new civil rights bill, which we thought we passed 50 years ago.
Uh,
And the civil rights organizations, through their support to the Democratic Party in the mid 60s in order to advance that cause. And it's now 50 years later, and nothing, do I need to repeat, nothing has been advanced. We're back where we were in the early 60s and
yeah,
fighting that fight all over again. Um, People who have been
arguably, I'd,
watching,
I'd say I'd say we're in a bit of, we might even be in a rougher spot than we were in the '60s, although that's definitely
then we were
debatable.
then. Yeah, under the leadership of the Democratic Party. People who have been watching this series know that I'm not a friend of the Democrats, and I love to pick them apart uh, at every opportunity because I think that's what's really important. People think that Republicans are the problem, and of course they are. But there's a sweetheart relationship going on between these bourgeois parties,
Mm-hmm.
and they're playing a shell game with us. And it is amazing how easily they deceive the working class into thinking that one or the other of them has their interests in mind. But in fact, I know, you know, and everybody else ought to know that they don't have the working class interests in mind. They have Wall Street interests in mind. And that's what they
Mm-hmm.
have in common, and that's what they do. And I'm getting really sick of it. But
It's exhausting.
it's been really exhausting for the last 50 years. But they're excellent, particularly the Democrats are excellent at deluding people into thinking that they're progressive.
Yeah, if you've only got two parties, that kind of keeps people's focus on, there are two options. You either choose this option or this option. And that's why we get all these, like, anytime you criticize the Democrats, people are like, oh, do you want the other team to win? I'm like, no, I want something better than either option. There are
It,
more points on an infinite spectrum than two. We have options here, and we got to fight for them.
yeah. And the big one has always been, oh, if we don't elect the Democrats, they're gonna, appoint Supreme Court justices that are going to be terrible, and that's the issue on the this year, and maybe some other year you can not vote for a Democrat or a Republican or go independent. But if you don't go independent this year, we're going to get terrible nominees on the Supreme Court. And that's been the line for the last 50 years. And now we have a Supreme Court that is dominated by conservatives.
Yeah. It's really just we're seeing the limitations of electoral politics, and voting is fine, but it is not the only way to get the change that we need. And arguably, I would say it is the least that we would need to do to get a equitable society going.
Yeah. Having said that, let me say this. I would like to take my hat off to Stacey Abrams.
Yes.
I think that she's done phenomenal and fantastic work, considering that she, is working for the Democrats. She's really moved away to distance. She's put the issue of universal suffrage on the table again, and for that, she's to be commended.
No argument here. On that note, shall we get the show rolling?
Let's roll into the show and see what we got coming.
All right, we've got a great series of acts for you, and we're going to be starting off with a duo of Andrew and Miles. Andrew and Miles have been the tech consultants on this series. We've been very grateful for their assistance, their breadth of knowledge, and they've got some fantastic tunes to share with y'all. Can we get them up on the screen?
Hey, everybody.
Hey. Welcome, Andrew and Miles. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
Best as can be expected given the circumstances.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you...
enjoyed hearing y'all speak on current news. Hi, Patrick.
Hey, what's up, doll?
What's up?
I'm hanging at the edge of my seat, waiting to see what you guys are made out of.
Oh, I can't wait to play some songs for you.
Yeah, take it away.
Take it away.
All right, we have special guest Aaron.
Chris.
Okay. Thanks a lot for having us.
Oh, you're welcome.
What do you want to play first? Play that Bed of Moss song. This song's about taking naps. On moss. Okay. You guys ready? Yeah. All right. Can we count it off? Yeah, sure. Okay.
That's nice.
It's just the two songs?
We're gonna do two more.
Oh, okay.
We'll do. This is a song that I heard from Theo about, but there's Queen of Hawaii.
And what's the root note on this one?
This one's in C. What does that mean? Sorry. Okay, we're okay. Randang Courage. You ready? Okay, here. Sorry. Okay. One, two, three, go. Wait, it's that. One more time. One, two, three, four.
Yeah, that last one.
Yeah, song.
Yeah, the good one.
It's got me so dark.
I know. And what happened to that ring, huh?
Something like that. Come on.
Sorry. Sorry for the delay. Thanks a lot for having us, everybody. I'm excited to play. Oh, what is this one? This one's in C sharp. It's kind of. I'm no good with keys. Okay. Last one. This song's about dreaming. You want to count it off or you want me to? Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andrew and Miles, otherwise known as Petty Dreadful, I see.
Oh, California Redemption Value, or CRV.
Okay.
That's my band name. That's the old band name, but then there was a television show and another band that came out after. It was time to retire that name anyways.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Well, thank you so much for performing. It's been really nice, like, working with you and finally getting to hear what you sound like.
Yeah, it's been really fun to work with y'all a little bit, helping out where we can. And of course, we love playing these types of events. And yeah, we're really grateful to y'all for putting this on and doing so much hard work.
And we also hate fascism.
And we hate fascism. That's the main thing, really, for us. We're anti-fascist. My little brother made a good point to like say the whole thing, not Antifa. You know?
Oh yeah. No, I know.
Oh yeah.
Here, here. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll be seeing you around soon, I hope.
Yeah, definitely. Once we all, get our vaccines on and, everybody stay healthy in the meantime. Stay safe.
Likewise. Stay safe. See you around.
See ya. Thanks.
All right. That was Andrew and Miles. Yeah, you enjoy their set, Patrick? Oh, I think you're on mute or something, man. Oh, jeez. Oh.
I just unmuted you.
Oh. What'd you think, Patrick?
They've been leading up to the whole project.
Mm-hmm.
I have a country ear, I must confess.
I hear you. It's good to get a diversity of sounds for this show, though, and that's the first time we've had some really electric rock on this show, and I'm appreciative of the new energy that adds to it. All right, shall I introduce our next act?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So next up, we have Jacob Rourke, accompanied by Merle Allen Sanders. Jacob Rourke has been singing virtually his entire life. He has appeared with Seattle Gilbert and Sullivan Society in several productions. He is gifted with perfect pitch and has sung with notable local choral groups such as Seattle Peace Chorus, Choir of the Sound, Seattle Jewish Chorale, Yashar Koach, and the choir at Temple Beth Am. He and his wife Heidi live in Northgate area of Seattle with their two cockatiels, George and Pablo. Merle Allen Sanders is a musician, composer, teacher, and recording artist who is active in the Seattle area music scene and has performed all around the world with such great names as Theodore Bickel, Etta James, and many more. Give us all an electric round of applause for Jacob Rourke and Merle Allen Sanders.
Thank you. I have a couple of comments about Jacob.
Shoot.
I've known Jacob for a long time. He's also done some Lavender Country shows. His mother was an avid Lavender Country fan in 1973.
Wow.
She taught her children to cut their teeth on Lavender Country. And I've known Jacob for a long time. Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Nice to meet you. Why don't you take it away?
One man come in the name of love. One man come and go. One man come, he to justify. One man to overthrow. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. One man caught on a barbed wire fence. One man he resist. One man washed up on an empty beach. One man betrayed with a kiss. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. Early morning, April 4th, shot rings out in the Memphis sky. Free at last, they took your life. They could not take your pride. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. In the name of love, once more in the name of love, in the name of love, once more in the name of love. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Preacher man, don't tell me heaven is on the earth. I know you don't know what life is really worth. Not all that glitters is gold. Half the story has never been told. And now we see the light. We stand up for our rights. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Most people think great God will come from the sky, take away everything and make everybody feel high. But if you know what life is worth, you will look for yours on earth. And now we see the light. We stand up for our rights. Get up, stand up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Sick and tired of the ism, schism game. Dying to go to heaven in the Jesus name, Lord. We know and we understand. Mighty God, living man. Fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And now we see the light. We stand up for our rights. Get up, stand up. Stand up for our rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Get up, stand up. Stand up for our rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. One second, just take a drink of water.
Yeah.
Hear the children crying, but I know they cry not in vain. Now the times are changing. Love has come to bloom again. Smell in the air when spring comes by raindrops. Reminds us of beautiful days. But now it's gonna rain. Water the cave crops. But the sweat from man's breath, the substance from our spine, we gotta keep on living on borrowed time. Hallelujah time. You can hear the children singing. Hallelujah time. They go singing by and by. Hallelujah time. Singing in the morning. Hallelujah time. Let them sing, don't you let them cry. Over rocks and mountains, the sheep are scattered all around. Over hills and valleys, they're everywhere to be found. Though we fear our burdens now, all afflictions got to end somehow. From swinging the hammer, pulling the plow, why won't you let us be to live in harmony? We like to live here like birds in the tree. Hallelujah time. Hear the children singing. Hallelujah time. They go singing by and by. Hallelujah time. Sing it in the morning. Hallelujah time. They go singing by and by. Hallelujah time. Imagine there's no heaven. I wonder if you can. No hell below us. Above us, there's only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no country and religion too. Nothing to kill or die for. It isn't hard to do. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine there's no possession. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. Only the brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one.
Thank him, Jacob.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful, Jacob.
It's a pleasure. Glad to be here.
It sure was.
Yeah,
Imagine made me cry, Jacob.
thanks. Yeah, I'm glad.
It must have worked because I'm crying.
What?
It must have worked because I'm crying.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to do this for sure.
It was nice to have you.
We like having you.
Pleasure.
May we cross paths in better times than these.
Definitely.
We will.
Hmm.
All right. Well, let's move swiftly along to our next artist. Patrick, you want to introduce this one?
I do.
All right, hit it.
This is my good friend, Nora Justice. Nora's pronoun is she. Nora lives in Missoula, Montana, and that's where she is right now. She grew up in Great Falls, so she's been knocking around Montana for a long time. She went to the University of Montana in Missoula and has a BA in Indigenous Studies and another BA in Irish Language Studies.
Impressive.
She does avant-garde field recording and music and performance under the pseudonym False Teeth.
Wow.
False Teeth. I have a pair of those.
I'm
So I
surprised.
know about that. I've also published 2 volumes of poetry. She is a drummer and a vocalist in several bands. And she's now remixing and revitalizing discarded and dismissed media.
Ooh.
Well, yeah, that's hot, right?
Yeah, there's plenty of that. There's plenty of material to work with there.
Hey, there's plenty of material to work with, starting with me.
Oh man, I was gonna make that joke. Dang it!
Oh, well, I beat you to the punch here.
All right,
Nora's favorite things are, I got a little bit more here about Nora.
all right.
Nora's favorite things are nice people, birds, the Grateful Dead, and Islam.
That's a diverse selection of favorite things.
Yeah, and I happen to know some things about Nora and Islam. I wouldn't have guessed it, but Nora is in leadership in the Montana Islam community and is a major contributor. So we have a white trans person from Great Falls, Montana, in leadership in the Islam community of Montana. And I've had many discussions with Nora about that, and she has demurely and politely put me in my place about my stereotypes regarding Islam. And I have found her extremely enlightening in that discussion. And I'm not even a religious person. So, without further ado, my good friend, Nora Justice from Missoula, Montana.
Nice to meet you, Nora.
Hi, how are you doing? Oh, it's so lovely to see your face.
I haven't got the best face in the world, but it's going to have to do till I check out.
How are y'all doing? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I look forward to hearing your work. Why don't you take it away?
Cool. I'm gonna press play on some ambient music I made today for the background, and just shoot me a message in the private stuff if it starts to make it hard to understand me. I thought maybe we could all have a meditation session. We can be anti-fascist and chill, right? So I'm reading today from stuff that I've written over the last few years. I kind of went back and tried to find some things that were appropriate for the broadcast. And I'm going to start by reading some stuff from the most recent thing I was published in, which is Off Latch Press. They're zine out in New York City. They're lovely people, and there's lots of great artists in here. But I figure I'll build up to the angrier anti-fascist stuff, and we'll start off calm. These two pieces are both titled Thimble Girl 1 and Thimble Girl 2. So the first one goes, distant deserts call to me, cooing, cross me to the jungles where they eat ant egg soup, and I flinch like a coward. I say, did you see those stairs? Instead, I'll just punch a hole in a gourd and live in there and let light stream in through the hole, and I will plant violets and dream of ant egg soup instead. And the second is, I scratch my head and itch and dig, and out of it comes this beautiful man. A beautiful man who fell like lice and eggs out of my scalp. A beautiful man who scattered along with ticks or gravel out of my new head of hair. Hello, beautiful man, I say, and then I crush more berries as I try to pick them. I burst them between my fingers. Their sweet blood runs and dribbles to the ground, and other beautiful men crawl out to drink of them. Next, I'm going to read a series of poems that I wrote starting probably around the time I was at Standing Rock, and kind of traveling through that part of the country, and then making it all the way out to y'all's area and back. These are a little older. This one goes, by Devil's Tower, where those root diggers who ripped through snake grass and mandrakes met Calamity Jane, there is a vole's vegetable garden. He once struck a man for planting just one head of garlic. A startling rumble in the distance is followed by cheers. It signals that Mount Rushmore has been blown to pieces. That one's called The Root Queens. This one is called The Yakima Bow Makers, and these three were originally a trilogy. The best bow maker in the Garden District uses crabapple wood, bull sinew, freshwater clams, wild currants, prairie chicken fluting, and blood lube. He made the chip blade that Cain used to slay Abel. It never happened when dogs still talked. And the final part of this trilogy is called George Armstrong Begs for Forgiveness. As we were leaving, we witnessed something that has to be mentioned. In the background, we saw Lincoln's head being drug away from the rubble. Custer didn't know about milk sickness, and he was writhing on the ground while Comanche the Brave Horse ignored his whimpers. I wrote that one. I grew up listening to Johnny Horton, who has a song about Custer's horse, and I felt like Comanche the Brave Horse probably didn't want to die on a hill with Custer, and he deserved a poem where he was distanced from Custer. So that's my revisionist Western for the day. Yeah, let's see. Oh, this one's about an ancestor of mine. It may be two ancestors. They were brothers, and I always get them conflated, but they're the same person here. And they lived on an island out in Lake Michigan when they first immigrated. And I always like to imagine their island occupies the same psychedelic space as the island where Ingmar Bergman filmed his films. And it goes, I am a direct descendant of one of the oldest people to have committed a murder in the state of Wisconsin. He was lame-legged, and he tried 3 times to fight in the War of 1812. Then he shot a guy for fucking with his island. Now Liv and Ingmar eat wild strawberries on a hilltop out there, and their nude ghosts form the waves. Should probably look at the camera more, huh? This one's called The Paddock Club, The True Stories. The Paddock Club is the name of the horse racing club in Great Falls that my grandpa worked at. And my grandpa was around horse racing and stuff his whole life. And most of these little single vignettes in this poem are things that, according to recordings I have from my grandpa that I recorded before he died, are things that my Uncle Ed was famous for doing during the Depression around the racetrack. Goes, my grandpa Bumpy learned from Uncle Ed at the racetrack. Uncle Ed stole cows and turkeys during the Depression. Not just one. He once gutted a whole turkey truck, mashallah. They said Uncle Ed would lead a rich man's cow right out of the pen and down the fairgrounds road, singing I Want to Be a Cowboy's Sweetheart to her as he absconded away with his prize. Today the long-shot horse is named Spring-Heel Jack. I wish it was named Uncle Ed. I miss my grandpa. There's a story, I think it's told in Ken Burns' The West, that Buffalo Bill gave Susan B. Anthony a rose at the World's Fair and it made her blush. And according to my grandma's genealogy chart, we're distantly related to Buffalo Bill. I have no idea if that's true or not, but that's what it says. I wrote this poem when I was thinking about all that one day, and it really does have some connections, because it talks about a little bit about William O'Neill and Fred Hampton and all that stuff. At the World's Fair, Buffalo Bill gave a rose to Susan B. Anthony. He hates the Silence of the Lambs, and she loathes being on a coin. Carrie Nation, the hatchet queen of Prohibition, hacked apart the tankard of ale on their wedding day. They live on the north side, but they both hate the Cubs. And they always have their anniversary meal in a Polish restaurant. In the spiral hell below Chicago, William O'Neill follows H.H. Holmes around and tattles on everything he does. Both are miserable because Allah is just. This is a fun one. So Mark Twain in Life on the Mississippi talks a lot about sitting on a deck and having exaggeration contests with other steamboat pilots as like a masculine contest. So this is written like a Mark Twain roast. Men named Lewis and only named Lewis used to look across Lake Erie and see their doppelgangers at the witching hour. Even on the darkest nights, their shadow selves would be out there burning like a self-restoring candle. A nutria of dire proportions would rise to the surface and offer to ferry them across. Mark Twain piloted a nutria, one with a full riverboat deck on its back. If you rode on it, you'd pass over the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which you could see through the nutria's glass stomach. Twain would stoke his pipe and say, "You know, the Golden Dawn say the dead are alive underwater." Now, if I remember correctly, just a good other piece of American folklore, I think that last line was inspired by divers saying that there is a wreck in one of the Great Lakes that's so well preserved that the body's floating and it still look like they're waving at you, and it's the origin of this big ghost story. This is one of the more recent ones that I wrote. I wrote it during the worst part of the election cycle. So you can imagine that I was not feeling super happy that day. But I guess I got to bring it on the anti-fascist front somewhere around here. So it goes, "The Nazis are coming. They're two stupid dogs and they have big stupid teeth, but they're coming and they bite. They're coming without a messiah. They're goose-stepping on the squash blossoms, turning mullein roots to make mass graves. The Nazis are coming and your grandmother can't run. The waves are coming. They're big and brackish and also stupid, but waves need no ideology. Their impermanence flips tables and topples machines. They suck and pull and rip you screaming back out amongst the clams and coral and flour. The wall of flame is here. It chars bones and ruptures nest eggs and melts glass like beaches and deserts against hydrogen bombs. And you are the botched planet. It is your job as a cell to heal. No pressure, right? I wrote this when I found a dead cat outside of the Montana State Prison around my birthday a few years ago. I think it probably relates. It's called Deer Lodge in Pisces. Deer Lodge is where the prison is in Montana, or Poland again. Been thinking about the time my aunt hallucinated all those horses and blue ghost cowboys chased her Nissan. I've been fighting this poem. It still carries its vestigial tales and bits of partially taped commercials. So forgive the abrupt nature of the beginning if it's later circumcised for proper form. But sometimes traveling too far stretches time until it's sloppy, like the collar on a shirt you've been driving in for days, spilling coffee on the console, blowing dog hair out the window, and nervously checking mountaintops for snow. Will we get over the pass? Will there be food at the meeting? Will the planet get too warm and die after the seaboards are lost to rising deep and food carts, corpses, smart cars, bricks of heroin, stacks of mixtapes, carts full of dollar books, sandwich boards, campaign stickers, stray animals, potted plants, and piles of empty milk crates get sucked into a frothing churn of salt water and ripped back out to sea with the tide that has risen up to the third floor windows, leaving slime up on the marquees? Or will there be a profound silence in a small park seen out a junk store window that will later come up in a dream where instead of the park I'm looking into a Hooterite colony community kitchen? I sat in it as a child and will never forget because of the clinging stench of cabbage. In the Parker colony, for they are the same today, there is a dead house cat, stiff sideways with his death mask pointed straight up towards the sky. He is too precious to have never been loved, and eventually his companion will find him with his opal eye sockets and frozen bright whiskers that look like an aspen grove before the thaw, and they won't weep until they can bury him in the hard earth, so he must be thrown away. All right, this is my last one. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all very much. It's called Tolerated. Why is the only question. Why did I allow myself to read ahead? Why do you make me feel so pointed and abstract, like a shock of old pastel silk flowers illuminating the roadside? Lighting the way for the traveling dead, a cluster of crosses on the road to the mission. Maybe that was the big one's older sister. Maybe that's why he drinks on Wednesdays. Maybe she hit the rumble strip near Custer's Last Stand and it eats the old bull from the inside out to imagine her blood mingled with the mottled remains of yellow hair still tangled on the battlefield. Tonight, survivors lick their wounds. Tonight, the impossibly weightless poses of cold, gentle bodies defy the infinite mass of their suffering. Tonight, queers lay awake as a network of synaptic fury. Shoot back, we hum to each other. Burn the neons. Tonight, I muse on yucca blooms, missing legs, and knee cobs, and how pods become poppies, but I can't get a gay man's blood if I happen to be dying in a discotheque. It's kill eagle, black moon, bareface, and black eagle, hump-nosed young black moon dogs with horns guts. It's black wasicha, dog backbone, owns red horse, big design. It's no war but class war. It's limber bones bleeding on the pile of stallions. think that's a perfect 20. Thank you all very much. Thanks for everybody else who performed today and for everyone who's going to go next.
Snaps.
Snap, snap, Nora. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mhm.
Nora. That was
As you're
we all need a
brilliant.
chill sometimes.
We all what? Sorry.
We all need some anti-fascism and chill sometimes, and I really appreciate you doing this show.
Thank you both so much.
Of course. Take care. Be safe.
I will. Thank you. You too. You guys have a good day, okay?
All right now.
All right, I love you.
Love you too.
You know that.
I know. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Au revoir. All right. We've got a couple more acts before the end of this show. Next up, we've got Jeff Burner. Patrick, you haven't seen Jeff perform before, right?
No, I haven't. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat.
I think you'll be excited. Jeff Burner is a
You know about him, right?
Huh?
You know about him, right?
Oh yeah, I saw him perform. I was introduced to him through the Monsters of Accordion tour that Jason Webley produced for some years. Jeff is a Canadian singer-songwriter and provocateur, slinging polyglot klezmer punk songs across the world. I was absolutely enthralled when I saw his performance about 10 years ago here in Seattle, and his music is amazing, at times riotously funny, and other times piercingly sincere. Jeff is a real mensch, an artisan of Jewish anti-fascism, and a real Michiganer in the best way possible. Why don't we get him on the screen? Jeff Burner.
Hi. Can you
Hey,
see
Jeff.
me okay?
Yeah, it's good to see you
Am I
and hear you.
Oh,
Is all well?
now I'm tuning in. Accordion, yay!
Is it time for me to start?
Yeah, take it away, Jeff.
Okay, I'm gonna go for it. Thanks a lot. My son Joseph set up the video good on the phone and all, so that's good. I think I'll start with like an old chestnut. You go ahead and close that door, Joseph. It's fine. Yeah, there you go. Good job. And then, so this is my sort of Michelin version of Deloy Politsay, an old Jewish anti-police song. So I've translated to be "fuck the police." It sort of one of my. I try to play it every set, so I gotta get out of the way right away. So here it is. If you want to sing along, it's "Hey hey, Deloy Politsay." Means the same thing now as yesterday. Out of your houses into the streets, everybody say, "Fuck the police." Played a lot of places. I'll play them all again. Everywhere I go, I hear the same old thing again. Somebody dies in police custody. Soon there are questions from the family. First, the situation makes those lawmen look so filthy. Then they investigate themselves, and it turns out that they're not guilty. Hey, hey, Deloy Politsay. It means the same thing now as yesterday. Out of your houses into the streets, everybody say, fuck the police. Now Ian Bush's parents didn't know he was a killer when Constable Kessler picked him up for having open can of Miller. The video at the station house somehow got erased, but the bull was there so we can know exactly what took place. He said the boy jumped on his back. The cop was quick instead, said he reached around and shot him right in the back of the head. Constable Kessler would not demonstrate just how this thing was done. If you think that it's impossible, then the coroner's not alone. Well, hey, that Lord, it seems the same thing now as yesterday. Out of your houses into the streets, everybody say, fuck the police. There must be something magic down in those holding cells, 'cause this stuff happens there that just don't happen nowhere else. Healthy people dying from a sudden heart attack, men who hang themselves with their hands tied behind their back. Oh, there's lots of good and brave police. It must be true, I guess. It's brave to work with a murderer sipping coffee by your desk. Hey, the Lord couldn't say means the same thing now as yesterday. Out of your houses into the streets, everybody say, fuck the police. That was my first song. That's something I wrote a long time ago, and bits of it and pieces of it are, trad, including the tune and title and stuff. Maybe look it up yourself. Deloitte Police. Did you want to come in? No, I can't get that for you right now. But if you want to come in and dance or something, that'd be cool. Okay. My kid's coming in. Lula. Just a second. There you go. And she might. Are you gonna do some dancing or just grabbing your stuffy? She needs to grab a stuffy there. So I'll just close it for you. You know how you need your best stuffy sometimes, and you just can't wait. Sometimes it's like that. Here's a new song I made up. It's kind of like a little government policy song. It's about the only way to actually stop people dying in an epidemic. And it's called Pay People Money to Stay at Home. People talk a lot about masks, and of course that they're important, and they talk a lot about vaccines, and they're important, but in the end, the next time we have an epidemic, let's remember what works is paying people money to stay home. Pay people money to stay at home and don't evict them, you asshole. You know that it's wrong. Pay people money to stay at home. The 2020 pandemic was one of many should have come along. 'Cause the climate disasters, diseases will be faster than I could ever fit in a song. Now some places people are dying, but other places people are not, like Vietnam, South Korea, New Zealand, Australia. And there's really only one important difference between them, so let's sing it lest it be forgot. What is it? Pay people money to stay at home and don't evict them, you asshole. You know that it's wrong. Pay people money to stay at home. Some people, they don't have homes, so I can see how that might seem confusing. But it's easy to just give them a nice one they like that somebody else isn't using, and then you just pay people money to stay at home and don't evict them, you asshole. You know that it's wrong. Pay people money to stay at home. Oh no. What if we gave people too much money? They wouldn't know what to do with it. Oh no. What if we gave people too much money? You know they'd only waste it. Oh no. They wouldn't want to go to work where it isn't safe. And then when the crisis is over and everybody's made it through okay, well, I don't mean to shock you, but perhaps we could talk about taking care of all the people every day. Anyway, you got to pay people money to stay at home and don't evict them, you asshole. You know that it's wrong. Pay people money to stay at home. Pay everybody enough money. You've got to pay people money to be safe at home. So that's my new song, and I think I'm going to play one more song, and say thanks a lot for letting me on your show. I really am pleased to be aligned with all these anti-fascist artists, and it's really an honor to be part of this, so thanks a lot. I've been Jeff Berner from Vancouver, Canada, and you've been wonderful. So this is a song from the Spanish Civil War, called Der Joch. Of course, there was anti-fascist Jews there fighting for the Republican side. That was when the Republicans were the good guys, remember? Good people. Anyway, the anti-fascist side had this song written originally in Catalan, and it's called Der Joch, the yoke. It's about the yoke of oppression and how it's going to fall one day. If I pull from the middle and you pull from the side, one day that rotten old yoke is going to fall. And it's a story song. I'm going to sing it in Yiddish to honor those people, the Jews who fought against fascism in the 30s in Spain, and all the other people fighting fascism everywhere in languages other than English. But I'll translate it into English so people can understand my favorite bits. Starts off, I was on the side of the road there with my grandfather, and we saw a horse pulling a wagon with a yoke on its neck, the horse. And my grandfather said, "See that yoke there? That's a lot like the one around our necks." Wir seien gestanden in Spain. Es hat noch nicht getagt. A Viertel vorbei und Wagen. Und hat dem Segen gesagt, my Seide said, sie setzt auf unser Rückens, dem schweren eisernen Joch. Can man nicht gehen, nicht fliehen? Seems like we can't get away from it. Fliegt man a Biss und a Stoch. Seems like we can't get away, but together, zusammen, we can escape. Arois. We can go arois. zusammen kennen wir alles, so seine Show, a Tag, a Woche. Might take a minute or a day or a week or longer, but it's gonna fall. This is my favorite melody. Wird schon fallen, fallen, fallen. That rotten old yoke that spoiled that outer yoke. If I pull from the middle and you pull from the side, it's gonna fall. Als ich soll's ziehen in der Mitte und du sollst ziehen in der Seite, wird schon fallen, 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 and then we shall all be free. Demut werden wir befreit. Second verse, I've been here for a while. So is the yoke of oppression is still there. Feels like it's getting heavier sometimes. Schon lange Jahren stehen wir herabgedreht von dem Bruch. Es mindert sich mein Keuer. Es wird als schwerer der Joch. Weil Gott es feuert und verschabert. Doch halte wie ein Zwang. Nur wenn ich halt schon beim Fallen, hör ich dem Seidensgesang. When I feel like I'm gonna fall, that's when I hear again my grandfather's song. Together. Zusammen kennen wir alles, so seine Show, a Tag, a Woche, wird schon fallen, 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 jetzt fällt alter Jahr, als ich soll ziehen in der Mitte und du sollst ziehen in der Zeit, wird schon fallen, 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 Demut werden wir befreit. Last verse. Grandfather's not here anymore. He's been blown away with the wind. Der Seide ist schon lange weg. Man hört schon nicht sein Kopf. Es hat immer weg, getragen der Wind. Nur ich steh da wie ein Moor. But I'm still here. I'm still here. Damn it. And then there's young people going by, and I stretch out my hand to them. Es gehen nahe Englisch vorbei, streck ich zu sie die Hand. And I sing for them my grandfather's song that he taught to me. Und sing für sie dem Seidenslied, was hat mich gelernt. Zusammen kennen wir alles, so seine Show, a Tag, a Woche, wird schon fallen, 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 der zweite Joch, als ich soll ziehen in der Mitte und du sollst ziehen in der Zeit, wird schon fallen, 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 Demut werden wir befreit. Da, 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 da. Schon fallen, 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 Demut werden wir befreit. Well, thanks very much for your attention. And thanks for inviting me on. And keep fighting the good fight, everybody. Stay strong and healthy. I've been Jeff Berner, and you've been wonderful.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was a great set.
Thanks.
So unique. Where could we ever get something else like that again? I don't think so.
I hadn't heard that Catalan song before. I've been following Jeff's music for a long time. It was good to hear some new tunes out of him.
Yeah. It sure was. He held my interest.
Hopefully we'll be able to see each other again in live concerts someday soon. Oh, and if you're just joining us and aren't familiar with the game, feel free to drop some tips if you've got them into my PayPal, paypal.me/AaronJShea. Flashing up on the screen there. Me and Patrick aren't taking a cut of any revenue from the show. We're just here to highlight some good artists and talk the good word about fighting fascism. And I hope y'all have been enjoying listening to music and poetry with us. And if you got spare dollars or coins to spread around, we'd love to give them to these wonderful performers. With that, Patrick, I think we've got one more artist for the folks today. You wanna introduce this last one?
I absolutely do. It's a very special introduction.
All right, hit it.
We have a poet again. His name is Andre Lamont Wilson. The first thing that I have to say about him is he's very special to me because he's married to my good friend Robert Perry. And they've been married for a long time. And Robert Perry was one of the producers of the original 1973 Lavender Country. So Andre has a special place in my heart. Andre grew up in Los Angeles. His parents were poets, artists, and teachers. So he's following in his parents' footsteps. His poems are about growing up Black and gay in California. And he's appeared in many publications, such as RFD, The Sun, Rattle Sparkle and Blink, Mom's Egg Review, Genre, Urban Arts Media, Queer People of Color Anthology, Queer Erotic Anthology Monthly.
Wow.
That would be good. Yeah. He's been nominated for a Pushcart Prize. And he teaches storytelling and writing on Zoom to adults in Oakland, California, and the Bay Area. It gives me great pleasure and honor to introduce a really good poet with some really good anti-fascist poetry, Andre Lamont Wilson. Andre, hi, baby.
Hello there. Hello.
Hello, Andre.
Wonderful. Gracious introduction, Patrick. And thank you very much, Aaron, and all the wonderful performers that we had this afternoon. I really enjoyed that Jeff there. He really made me smile and laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He's a dear. He's a dear heart.
Yeah, quite indeed.
He's quite a dear. But darling, so are you. Go.
Okay. My first piece was my title essay of a collection for a nonfiction chapter that I submitted for consideration for publication. And the piece is titled Hauntings. One night before or after World War II, when she was a girl, my mother saw a ghost. For whatever reason, perhaps a sixth sense, perhaps chance, she looked out the window of her sharecropper shack in Somerville, East Texas, and spied a figure gliding across a field. The figure of a man. A black man. Fuzzy around the edges, the ghost-like apparition appeared to run, but his feet made no sound. They touched no ground. With wide eyes, the girl tracked its movement. Years later, when Mom told me the story, I asked, "How do you know it was a ghost?" "Well," she said, "there was a fence at the end of the field. The ghost didn't climb the fence, it passed through it." I instinctively knew the ghost was that of a runaway slave who didn't make it. Whether he was running for refuge with an Eastern Indian tribe or south to the Mexico border, he ran through at a time before fences subdivided the plantation into sharecroppers' plots. Although years have passed since Mom told me the story, I still cry when I think of it. I question not whether she saw something or imagined it. I question not whether it was smoke or shadow. I don't care whether the ghost was real. A ghost is a series of unanswered questions. And the questions I have, I will address to the ghost himself. Why are you still here? The Civil War ended. Juneteenth came for every slave but you. No doubt, if I were to return to Texas today and stand on the plot of land where my mother's shack once stood, you would still cross that field night after night. Why? Something is unresolved. I'm struck that my mother's story is essentially the same story as those of today. The places, names, and details change, but they are all the same story. A rope around a neck, a knee on a neck, blood on the earth, blood on the street. A jogger who never made it home, a slave who never made it to freedom. These are all the same story. It seems that we are doomed to repeat the same story day after day, century after century. We are stuck in a loop. No, even worse, a Mobius strip. We keep going around and around, repeating the same story. Sad to say, a fleeing black man can still be shot in the back today. I'm confused which century I'm in, the 19th or the 21st. Is there a way that we can break this cycle that is stronger than the chains that once held you, that once held us? Violence and racism haunt our land to this day. Must we create new versions of the same old story to tell future generations? Can we tell a new story? Can we create a new ending? Perhaps your hauntings will cease when the living achieve the freedom you ran for. Thank you. My next piece was published last year in the journal called Sparkle and Blink, and it's called Brer Terrapin. My mother left Texas and its lynching trees as soon as she graduated from high school in 1954. She returned to California where her family had worked the shipyards during World War II. She married, had 2 kids, and divorced. According to my elder brother, Terry, she called her mother back in Texas and asked, "Mama, can I come home and live with you?" Mama spoke into the phone. You're raising 2 black boys who've always lived in the city. One boy is fast like Brer Rabbit. The other boy is slow like Brer Terrapin and doesn't have the right temperament to live in the South. You bring him down here and he's bound to say or do something that will get himself lynched. At the time of their conversation, several years had passed since Emmett Till, a black boy from Chicago, had been lynched when he visited relatives in Mississippi, but supposedly whistling at a white woman. My mother decided to stay and remarry in California, where I became her next born son in a state where lynching supposedly didn't occur. However, with each killing of an unarmed African American, I feel a growing awareness that what happened to blacks in the Jim Crow South could happen to me today, anywhere in America. Whenever I go on walks in an Oakland suburb and see a barren tree overlooking the marsh, I imagine myself hanging from it and hurry home before dark. Thank you. My last piece was anthologized in Civil Liberties United 2 years ago. The Thrift Shop. I was 16 in 1980 Los Angeles when I decided to visit the last thrift shop along my record scavenging route between school and the bus stop. The shop resembled a converted house with its pitched roof and small space. I opened the screen door, exited the light, and entered the den. The thrift shopkeeper laughed at a daytime talk show on homosexuality. I never paid too much attention to shopkeepers, but this one stood tall, big, old, and white to this 16-year-old black boy. The shopkeeper rested his head on his hand as he sniggered at the television set on his glass counter, which contained jewelry and medals. He stopped laughing and shifted his eyes from the careers on TV to the one who walked in his door. I asked, "Do you have any records?" He answered, "Right over there," pointing to cardboard boxes on the Persian rug. "Thank you." I knelt at my first box. My nose inhaled the aroma of old vinyl. Hands searched the records. Flip, flip, flip. Fingers found the motion picture soundtrack to Jesus Christ Superstar. It was a double album. My oldest brother took me to see this movie musical in 1973. I have watched it on TV every Easter since. I next found The Carpenters. This 1971 album put the brother and sister duo on the pop charts with their hits Superstar, For All We Know, and my favorite, Rainy Days and Mondays Always Get Me Down. I was on roll now. If I found these gems among the albums, what gems awaited among the singles? I raised my head from the last box of albums and asked the shopkeeper, "Do you have any singles?" "Right over there." He pointed to a record rack which stood in the middle of the aisle like a Christmas tree. I rushed the rack. I browsed the records. Click, click, click. A voice behind me warned, "You steal any of my records and I'll shoot you." I turned. Behind the glass counter, the white shopkeeper aimed a gun at me. The thought flashed my mind, is that gun real? I saw his eyes and knew the gun is real. My mother never gave me the talk many African American parents give their children about what to do when confronted with a person with a gun. But I instinctively knew not to talk back nor to make sudden moves. I also instinctively knew that I could do everything right and still end up dead. I could do nothing at all and still end up dead. Too scared to run, I continued to browse records. Click, click, click. Waving his gun, the shopkeeper hurled insults. "You Dugan Hills boys suck. Your people are always coming in here stealing my records. Click, click, click. My hands shook as I slid a single from its sleeve. I was unable to focus on the artist's name, the song title, single's condition. I told myself, Andre, whatever you do, don't drop the record because you'll have to make a sudden move to pick it up. Finding I would not flee and confirm his suspicions that I was a thief, the shopkeeper struck up a one-way conversation with me at gunpoint. I have a son. He's in college. He's the quarterback on the football team. Now, he has a colored roommate who's his bodyguard. In fact, all the colored boys on his team are his bodyguard. To make sure no one messes with him on or off the field, them mothers got shoulders this big. Gun in hand, he stretched his arms wide and then returned the gun to aim at me. He said this as if I should be proud that your people, black bodyguards, protected his white son. By aiming the gun at me, the father let it be known that if black bodyguards protected his son, a black gun protected the father. More interested in the carpenters than in quarterbacks, I feared he would shoot me if I failed to show enthusiasm for his story. I squeaked, "Wow!" I examined every single on the record back without wanting one. Nodding his gun, the shopkeeper demanded, "Aren't you going to buy more records?" Is he forcing me at gunpoint to buy records? I didn't find anything I like. I lied. I feared he would shoot me if I did not buy something. I made my first of 3 dangerous moves. With Jesus Christ Superstar and the Carpenters tucked under my arms, I walked towards a man holding a gun at me. "How much for these albums?" $250. As much as I dared, as I glared at his gun, I protested. $250 for this? Look at the cover. It's worn around the edges. Actually, I only had $2 on me. I feared he would shoot me if I returned one of the albums. All right then, $2. It's a deal. But we did not shake on it. I then made my second dangerous move. I reached into my pocket to pull out my wallet. The shopkeeper leaned back from the counter, his gun leveled at me. I placed the ones on the counter. "Thank you." "You're welcome. Have a nice day now. You hear?" I made my third dangerous move. I turned my back on a man holding a gun at me. I walked toward the door. My back arched. I waited for the bullets, the pain, the loss of consciousness. I prayed, "Please don't shoot me in the back! Please don't shoot me in the back!" Nothing happened. I left the man with his TV and his gun as his only companions. I exhaled when I walked outside. Of all the things I remember, I recall the peculiar quality of the sunlight found nowhere else in this world. The white stucco walls and gray concrete sidewalks reflect the sunlight I thought I would never see again. I blinked at sun and thought, I'm alive. Thank you.
Damn. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Of course, it's lovely to meet you.
Yes, you too, Aaron.
And I
Thank
hope we
you.
have some better times than these.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
All right, Patrick.
Andre, I'm speechless. Speechless.
Oh boy.
Patrick. Thank you for bringing so many of your great friends, Patrick, to this show.
Oh yeah.
Right. This has been great for me to meet all these folks and see their lovely.
This one took the cake.
Yes, yes.
I knew you were gonna, Andrew, but I didn't know you were gonna make me bawl my eyes out.
Maybe brought my eyes out too.
And I noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I started losing water myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A good way.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Andre, and please take care. Be safe out
Thank
there.
you all. Thank you all. It was quite a pleasure, quite an honor. Thank you very, very much.
Andre, I used to do interpretive reading.
Ah.
Which is different than writing poetry, right?
Mhm.
But you're fabulous interpretive reader.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
As well as poet. I'm sure you know that, but now I know it too.
Yes, yes, you do.
Really, really top notch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Reader. You
All
know
right.
you know what I'm saying, honey.
Yes.
Shall we bring it on home, Patrick? Shall we close the show out?
You do it.
All right.
I'm too
I'll take the wheel. Thank you all for watching another episode of the Anti-Fascist Concert Series. Special thanks again to our performers today. We had Andrew Miles, Jacob Rourke, Nora Justice, Jeff Berner, Andre Wilson. And also accompanist Merle Allen Sanders was accompanying Jacob Rourke. Amazing piano playing. And thank y'all for watching out there in internet land. Hope you all are taking care of yourselves and doing what you can to protect your communities from the pandemic and from the rising tides of fascism that we're all kind of struggling against. Yeah, that was
a good one.
That was a good one. And there will be many more. Hit subscribe on the button down below if you're watching on YouTube. Like and follow Lavender Country on Facebook if that's where you're watching this. And if you haven't already and you have some spare dollars to drop, go to paypal.me/AaronJShay and I'll make sure we get funds to those artists who brought such enlightenment and catharsis and beauty to our day. I think that's all I got. Anything you want to say, Patrick, before we sign off?
I'm done. I'll see
All
you.
right.
See you all next
See you
week.
next week. Solidarity forever. Take care of yourselves and keep on fighting. Cheers.